College assignments or classes can be tiresome and dry to some college students. Hypothetically speaking, let's say we're creating a full sentence outline the day prior to the deadline. A good dose of caffeine should keep one awake and alert. According to Francesco Di Romero and Prieto F. Russo in their book Caffeine Consumption and Health, consumption of a moderate amount of caffeine can lead to improved alertness, willingness to work, and self-confidence. In reality, about 80 to 90% of the adult population consume a caffeine product. Procrastination is something we should always avoid. However, I do know that after dealing with work, school, family, and life, we might not have had enough time to complete other tasks. Maybe time is what we do have, however, we do not have the energy to do so. I consume my dose of daily caffeine to keep me alert and motivated throughout my day. We all need that extra little boost here and there. Some persons drink caffeine due to their jobs, school, or lack thereof. According to Malinauskas et al. From a survey of energy drink consumption patterns among college students, the majority of 496 surveyed students drink energy drinks for insufficient sleep and 65% to increase energy. There is skepticism regarding the psychological and physiological effects of the consumption of caffeine. Today I'll be speaking of the history of caffeine, physiological and psychological effects of caffeine on the human body. Discovery of caffeine. So how did caffeine come about? According to Francesco Romano and Prieto, the most believed story of the discovery of caffeine occurred in Abyssinia, or present-day Ethiopia, around the 3rd century AD. The story tells of Kaldi, a shepherd. Kaldi began searching for his goats after some had strayed away from the herd. Kaldi found them eating fruits off of a shrub and acting kind of odd. Kaldi ate some of the fruits and found them to give him energy. Kaldi saw the fruits as a gift, but the local monastery saw them as devil's work. The monastery ordered those fruits to burned and destroyed. The sweet odor of the burning plants led to the monks to retrieve the beans from within the ashes. The monks subsequently mixed the beans with the water and named it kawa, which means that which prevents sleep. Another tale mentions coffee being a favorite drink of the Ottoman Empire. A writer, philosopher, and eventual scientist by the name of Wolfgang von Goethe led to the scientific breakdown of coffee due to its popularity. Goethe introduced the beans to his staff at the University of Jena, where he was a supervisor. His colleagues and himself subsequently isolated caffeine from the coffee seeds and named it caffeine with a K, which translates to modern-day caffeine. Modern-day caffeine can be found in a variety of products, and how caffeine affects your brain by mind, mood, and memory. Tea, coffee, soft drinks, chocolate, and some medication can contain caffeine. Romano and Russo also mention caffeine as a natural and synthetic source of energy. Natural sources of caffeine can include coffee, tea, cocoa, mate, and guarana. Examples of this will be the cocoa found in this chocolate, coffee, and green tea. The consumption of caffeine has progressed into modern day times. We may now see goats consuming sources of caffeine, but we may now see college students consuming caffeine. Malinauskas et al. Conducted a survey which consisted of 496 students selected at random. The survey took place in a state university in the central Atlantic region of the U.S. Insufficient sleep was the greatest reason of the energy consumption at 67%, followed by want of increased energy at 65%, and lastly, for partying or drinking purposes at 54%. In the article, Questions Mountain Energy Drinks by Karen Winthrop from the Boston Globe, Seth Hale, a community college student, admits to at one point drinking 6 Monster energy drinks a day. Seth had to cut down to the 2-day cans for financial reasons. Seth mentions the sweet flavor and also the extra edge he gets during the finals as a reason for the consumption. And as we speak, we're drinking mine right now. Caffeine has been found to have physiological effects. Consumption of caffeine in recommended doses can lead to alter a person's behavior. Several functions such as alertness, sociability, energy, and improved self-confidence and cognitive functions have improved as a result of caffeine consumption. Romano and Prieto also mention how caffeine can improve performance in sports. Romano and Prieto mention studies conducted show that sleep-deprived subjects consuming caffeine have improved their memory and reasoning. Lastly, Romano Prieto also mentioned how caffeine is used to improve muscle endurance during short and brief intense exercise. We all have seen those pre-workout supplements out there that are loaded with caffeine to provide the consumer with energy and endurance. According to the article How Caffeine Affects Your Brain from Mind, Mood, and Memory, caffeine consumption stimulates the release of hormone adrenaline to briefly improve mental process. Caffeine also raises the levels of the stress hormone called cortisol to prompt the body for better brain and body action. As I have previously mentioned, caffeine aids in raising dopamine, which is linked to memory and problem solving. Caffeine not only improves mental process, it also boosts strength and acts as a performance enhancer. Amy Kraft and Ashley Welch also mentioned that caffeine acts as a deterrent of physical exhaustion. Caffeine consumption in moderate amounts has also shown positive effects in the psychological aspect of the human body. Amy Welch mentions a study conducted by JAMA Internal Medicine found that consumption of caffeine in moderate amounts helps reduce the rate of depression in women. I recommend my wife drink more than one coffee in the mornings because Amy Welch also mentions caffeine improves long-term memory. We would all benefit from that, right guys? Lastly, the article How Caffeine Affects Your Brain from Mind, Mood, and Memory mentions a research conducted on healthy subjects that included taking of brain scans. The subjects consumed 100 milligrams of caffeine. The results showed that caffeine stimulated the frontal lobe, the brain region responsible for short-term memory, and the anterior cingulum, which is responsible for attention. I would secretly replace my wife's coffee mug with a larger one in the mornings. Many adults in different walks of life consume caffeine in one form or another. While some persons advocate health concerns of caffeine, we mentioned some benefits of caffeine. Caffeine can improve alertness, energy levels, and also help with minor memory issues. Caffeine can help us persons who at the end of the day can be drained and provide an additional boost. There are many forms of caffeine such as energy drinks, tea, coffee, and even medicine. I'm a daily consumer of caffeine, even if sometimes my wife gets mad at me. Caffeine makes me feel alert and awake when needed. And my purpose is to inform you of the benefits and uses of caffeine. At the beginning of the speech, I mentioned the shepherd and his crazy goats. Why? Well, I encourage all of you to get a cup of coffee, energy drink, or other sorts of caffeine and become those goats and enjoy the activities that sometimes can drain us. Thank you.